You're listening to the Current Plays Podcast, Season 3, Bonus Episode Number 1, Cyclades. Now please welcome our hosts, Jordan and Thomas. And welcome, heroic listeners, to this bonus episode of the Current Plays Podcast. We wanted to touch on some games that we played outside of our regular weekly game with a couple of friends of ours because we played some pretty good ones.
Mm.
So the first one that we played was Cyclades, specifically the Legendary Edition that came out last year in 2024. This is a game by none other than the great Bruno Catala and Ludovic Maublanc. And the artist on this one is Miguel Coimbra and published by Open Sesame Games. So, in this game, you play as well, the theme, I should say, is like ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And you're in the Cyclades Islands, I think is supposed to be what it is. In the Legendary Edition, you have a modular board where you've got, I think there's 10 different tiles, and you can arrange them however you like, and however they fit together, that makes up the different islands. So every time you play, it's going to be slightly different. Those islands all have like different areas on them, and this is an area control game.
Yeah.
Some of those areas have bonuses such as income or priestesses, which, we'll get into how they come into play later. And you're gonna put their dudes out on the map. And during the action phase, the way you take actions is actually a bidding system. So you're going to bid for the favor of various gods. So these are the, ancient Greek gods. And each god has their own action, right? So if you have that god's favor, then they're gonna do this thing for you, or bestow these gifts upon you. There's stuff like Ares helps you get troops and move troops to wage war. Poseidon helps you get ships and move your ships to wage war on the sea. Zeus gives you priestess cards and lets you peek at the monster deck so that you can maybe get an ancient Greek monster for a turn or two, and they're very cool.
Yep. Yep.
The monsters actually also, there are some that go and have a presence on the board and do a thing, and then there's other ones that are just a card with an instant effect. And I particularly like how they did that, I'll
Yeah.
say.
That was cool. Yeah. Both
Um,
versions are really neat. Yeah. Gives you kind of like, yeah, just options.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And basically, the point of the game is you are building different structures. There's four different types of structures, and most of them give you some kind of benefit during the game. But once you have control of four different structures, they're going to turn into a metropolis. So, and once you control three different metropolises, you win the game. And I say control three different metropolises because you didn't have to build them. Somebody else could have built them,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
you take over that area, and now all of a sudden that metropolis is yours. So that's uh that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of the game. We played this together before as one of our weekly game nights,
Yep. Yep. Just two
and
players. Yep.
just two players. So in the original version of the game, there was no two player. Then they came out with a two-player version where each player plays two different factions that share resources in order to try and simulate a four-player game. And that went very poorly.
Yeah. Even saying it out loud, um, like you're playing two different two different colored factions. Let's call them factions. Um, and there was many times where like you'd be about to take a turn and be like, oh no, wait, these are my red guys, and this action's for the brown guys.
Right, right.
Yeah, so like not a huge deal, but like kind of kind of annoying to be honest, and kind of
Mm,
like yeah, easy to mix those up and be like, oh yeah, okay, I get four movement, and now I move. Oh wait, no, that's a brown guy. I can't move him. I got to move the red guys. That's this
right.
turn, right?
And I planned this whole thing thinking was moving these guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just and just for this the you know reason of trying to control two different of the, but they're both on your team, so really I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a weird. Yeah, I gotta play two-handed and treat them like two different things, but then
Yeah.
share my my
But you're
resources amongst them.
sharing the resources, which I think is the more impactful part of this, right?
Hmm.
Because what happened in our game when we played before was you got a small advantage over me by making an early aggressive move,
Yes.
as you do in every two-player area control game, because
Yeah.
that's how you win area control games of two players, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got this small advantage, which meant that you got more money coming in, which meant you could outbid me on the actions, which meant you just had more control, could take over more areas, which got you more income, which, so, and then the discrepancy between us just
Yeah.
got a lot bigger very quickly. And I think by around three or four, I said, listen, Thomas, let's call it because it's very clear that, you've got this game and I have no chance.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not fun at that point either to win that way because like I was crushing you through no through that small advantage that I basically lucked out in. I took a chance, a risky move to get a slight advantage, and it worked in my favor. Had it not, we would have had the exact opposite game, but you would have crushed me in that
Right.
sense with probably a blowout like that too, right? So I took a risk, it panned out, but then it was to a degree that you just could not come from. And then because it was only you were my only opponent and you're sharing resources amongst the two, I always knew how much money you had throughout the entire game. So I could bid just enough to either outbid you or cause you to, I know you need this god, so I'll let you have it, but you got to spend everything to take it from me, right?
Right.
So like that type of thing. And then because you spent everything to take it, you didn't have the money to actually like make the best use of it, right? So and then like round three, one of the creature cards or one of the monster cards that came up was one that allowed me to steal gold from you. So it was like this huge like that happened to come up.
Yeah.
I was first player on that round. I outbid you, then I stole your gold, so then you essentially would have no round for, turn round three, whatever it was. And then yeah, like how do you weren't playing the game anymore. I was playing the game and
Yeah.
you didn't get to play, right? So and I get it. It's hard to make a territory control game work at two players. It's very rare that I see it. I have seen it. I own Small World Underground is one of the first board games, hobby board games that I picked up. Can't play it at two players because most games and not only territory control, but territory control has a big issue with this. If you come out of the gate swinging and it goes in your favor, you've won. You create that initial momentum and you just can't stop. We found this also in what was the leader games one?
Root.
Root. I we played two players. I was the cats, Marquita cats, and you were the roost one, and right out of
Hmm.
the gate, right at you, right down your throat, kind of thing, and attacking you, right? And then it was just you get that small initial win, and it's just it compounds after that, right? And you can't stop the snowball. Um, and that's an unfortunate thing, especially when with these guys they took the time to make a two-player game. I feel like maybe they didn't take the time. But
Well, it's,
yeah,
you know what, honestly, I think it's probably something where the publisher went, hey, listen, we're coming out with this legendary edition. We want to reach a bigger audience.
yeah.
We need this, we need to offer this at two players, right? And I'll be honest, that's why I got it. When this initially came out, I was like, it doesn't play two players, so why
Yeah.
would I get it? I know everyone says it's a fantastic game, but it doesn't play two players, so there's no reason for me to get it. And then when, the Kickstarter campaign went through, whatever, I looked back and was like, oh, this one you can play at two players. I should grab it. And yeah, it was a lie. It was a lie. It doesn't play two players at
It
all.
wasn't a real two-player mode. It's
Yeah.
very similar when a lot of games will come up, they'll say a solo mode, and it's just not a real solo mode either, right?
Mm,
The same thing happened with this. It was almost like you know I think you're exactly right. The publisher wanted to hit a larger group of people. Let's make it two players.
yeah.
Yeah, people can control two hand. You can look at be like, oh yeah, people play Gloomhaven and they'll play that solo, two-handed with two characters. So of course they can do something like this with it just didn't work, right?
Now, conversely, when we played it on my birthday and we had
Yeah,
four players,
what a different
fantastic.
experience. Yeah, yeah. And to the point that the person that won the game, like out of nowhere almost, and I was so upset because I was manipulating so much, and it just all to nothing. When-
Uh,
yeah, it
that
was.
game was incredible.
Yeah, it was really good.
I I was in the lead for most of that game. And I made one mistake where
Yep.
I had the Poseidon action, but my so I'm so, so I had pretty much taken over, a couple different islands in a corner, and I had taken over some spots, not like a mainland, but on an adjacent island that was a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Pardon me. And I was protecting myself with ships. And then somebody pulled a card that let them move some ships around. And our friend Brian's ship got put in this one spot uh, that sort of made a bridge because you can move your troops from one island to another as long as you have like a bridge of ships. Well, Brian's ship got put there, but Brian wasn't in the adjacent land spaces. It was Brandon there at the time. So I kind of went, okay, yes, there's a ship there, but I'm safe because Brian isn't anywhere where he can make use of that. So my attention was over here where I was trying to cross and invade Brian's areas. Well, there's in this game you can hire your own warriors, and you have a limited number of warriors that you can use to attack and take over areas. There are also mercenaries. So Ares gets you warriors. Hera lets you hire mercenaries. And Brian and I were, I think, the only two that I guess ever won the Hera bid.
Yeah.
And so we both had sizable mercenary armies. Well, then out comes this hero, Pandora. And what's Pandora's ability? If she's in the battle, all the mercenaries go over to her side. So I'm holding these islands with basically just mercenaries. Brian comes out, just takes over all my territories because all my armies just turn coat and go over to his side. And I had an opportunity to take out that ship, but I wasn't worried about it before.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then this suddenly happened. And then he just waltzed over and took over all my crap. So for most of the game, I was in the lead and then came around to the end and I just got wiped off the boards.
The entire game, Brian was like this sleeper agent.
Yeah,
Um, I I got to your place first, and we went downstairs and we saw the board set up, and we were looking at it and we're like, oh wow, like Brian and Brandon both have better positions than the two of us do.
right,
And then, I was looking at it, I was like, okay, well, Brian never plays aggressively. So I'm going to protect against Brandon being aggressive.
right,
Uh, and then, Brian decided, I'm going to play aggressively and, attack Thomas in the back. And so
right out of the gate.
right away, first turn, I was like, I down to one little territory, and what's nice about this game is there's no player elimination. So that last territory you can actually take from a player, right? So I'm like down to this last little spot, so was out of the game and basically like, okay. So then, it becomes a campaign of like pointing out who's winning and why people shouldn't attack me and why they should. And then I end up being able to like expand out and clear off Brandon from my entire island. And then I shipped over to Brian's island and I pushed him off of his island and kicked him out. And I was like, yes, my plan's coming together. I'm manipulating the board and I'm finally in a position. And when I pushed Brian out, he was like, oh, I was going to win the game. I had this card that could do this and this card could do that. I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever, right? Uh, I've planned all this. You weren't going to win it. I was going to win it, right? And then he did the exact same plan that he mentioned to everyone at the board that he was going to do, but
Right.
because I took his territories, he couldn't do it. So then he got that Pandora, and then instead of, fighting me back, he went and took all your territories with Pandora and got, all the positioning on the board that he needed to complete that. And then like his final thing was like, oh, and I come back to my original island and push Thomas off this one spot because I had left at that point making another move to basically get metropolises at this point because I was
For
making my
Brandon.
move to finish the game.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, and I take this last spot, and because now I have seven territories, I can actually do this and this. And then it was like 3 points in one turn. I was like, he even said he was going to do that, and then we just kind of let him do it somewhere else, right? So we're so focused on like stopping you, who was the direct threat that we could see on the board, because
Right.
like you were the first to build a metropolis, and then you came in and you punched Brian in the face and took his metropolis, right? And then it was like every round was like, well, Jordan just needs to do this and he gets a free metropolis. Well, he only needs to do this. So if he gets this god, so then it's like we were
Yeah.
just doing that one thing to stop you, stop you, stop you.
One turn, I actually had three metropolises.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, but before you have to hold them till the end of the round. And I had gone first, and then Brian, yeah, kicked me off one of those metropolises. So I was that close to winning the game. And yeah, and Brian kicked me off.
And then the end of the round too, like you were about to make a big play to again get your like third metropolis or whatever, and then for whatever reason we chiseled you down enough gold that you had less than you thought you did, and then
Oh, yeah, that was so brutal.
yeah, so it was all
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I got the Hydra out, and the Hydra basically comes on the board and eats people, and then wherever it's sitting, it doubles the income of that location. And Brian had happened to have this location before and had built it up a fair amount. I think it was
yeah,
earning like 3 or 4 coins every round. And then I plunk my Hydra there and take over that city. And so now just that one spot alone was making me 8 gold per round. Plus I had like a bunch of other territories. So I think at one point I was making 13 or 14 coins, which is a
yeah,
lot in this game.
tons, yeah, yeah,
And I wasn't even spending it all. So I had a few turns of like all this money. And I'm like, and I'm just gonna throw my weight around. And then there was a turn that Pegasus came out, and Pegasus let you jump across the board to any territory. And I'm reading it and I'm rereading it, and I'm like, it doesn't say unoccupied territory. It says any territory. I'm like, I have to go first and then buy Pegasus and fly over and take over Brandon's metropolis.
yeah,
And I've won the
yeah,
game. And I do some quick math in my head and I'm like, okay, I have enough to do it as long as I can bid this or less on the top spot. And I bid it, and then it went time to pay, and I went, oh no, I only have like just enough money to pay for this bid, and I don't have enough to buy Pegasus.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I like just ruined my turn. Um, and then lo and behold, you bought Pegasus and did the exact move I was gonna do.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and yeah, this is a really neat one because it, it really, because of the way that gods work and how they cycle through, you get situations where you just can't do what you would like to do.
Right.
Take Poseidon for an example, right? Poseidon allows you to move your ships. When Poseidon is not available, there's no ship movement unless you find some sort of creature that does that, right? That happens to come up that round or something, right? But for the most part, there's no ship movement for at least 2 rounds until Poseidon comes back out on that third round, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you were on the other half of the board, and I was on this half. Okay, I took over my island. I took over Brian's island. Um, I don't have access to any of your islands because I don't have my ships in a position to go to yours. Mine were in a position to take over Brian's at this point. And then we're protecting my other island from people sneaking in. So there's no way I could have stopped you at all from any of your points. So it was really me trying to like prod Brandon and Brian to like, you got to deal with that. You got to deal with it. I can't get there. You got to deal with it, right? And they were doing well at doing that and just taking things away from you right at the last minute, right? So but yeah, that's a neat aspect of it that you're really same with the other Hera and Ares, right? Ares is make you allows you to have your troops, bring out your own troops, um, and then it's easy to move those troops with Ares as long as you have the gold to do so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once Ares is gone, wherever your dudes are, that's it. They're staying there. They're not moving. You're not taking any more territory until Ares comes back out, right? So even though I made that jump over and I was like, yeah, this is great, it was still going to be a few turns because Ares had just left at that point too. So it was like another turn or two before it was going to come out before I could move my dudes to take over more territory, right? And
Mm-hmm.
same with Hera, but on a mercenary scale instead of your regular workers, right? So fascinating how that all works. You got to really balance that and okay, got to make this move, and then Ares is still going to be on this board, so I can make more moves next round as long as I get that that god again.
Hmm.
And there's a whole section of it, like Hera's the only one that allows you to bring out heroes. And if you don't have a hero, there's literally no way to move your characters unless you take the or your workers or your warriors unless you take the Ares action, right? Every other god typically has like some sort of like you pay gold and then you can move your hero and that hero can drag troops with it. If you don't have a hero, there's just no
Yeah.
movement for you, right?
Yeah.
And I think you and Brian were the only ones that actually had hero, and Brandon and I were like, no, we can't move off turn. Like we're stuck here until those gods come back out, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So we had the mercenaries and we had the heroes.
yeah, yeah.
And he did a really good job of like calculating the value of the heroes that came out
Hmm.
and then going after them and snatching them up. So I grabbed I think two heroes, and the first one I grabbed, I didn't even really want him that bad. I just needed a hero because I wanted to move troops.
Yeah, yeah,
So now he ended up being very good. Like he had a good ability. But Brian grabbed the ones that let him build two metropolises at the end of the game and win the game, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
he did a great job of evaluating those guys. Uh,
And that's what was a bit difficult too, because like I would have loved to have a hero, but then when I was on the back foot right at the start, when Brian got that hero on his first round and then like attacked me, and then I was like, oh no. Then it was always like it was just a stay alive focus for the longest time, and then part of
mhm.
that it turned into just this giant army of that people just couldn't defend against, right? But with that, I really needed a hero so that I could move them off things. But yeah, with Brian having the heroes that he took, and then you having some heroes, and you guys being the only ones, it was just yeah, it was quite the win for sure. When he was like, yeah, and then I get rid of this hero for the ability that gives it a Metropolis here, and then this one here, and that's boom. And I'm the last player to play this round, so then I automatically win, kind of thing. I think Brandon actually was
Yeah.
the last player, but all Brandon's turn was there's the like final god Apollo that basically just lets you like increase the value of some of your locations and then gives you some gold, right? So there's no stopping power with that. It was just like, okay, Brandon, it's your turn, and he was like, yeah, okay, I get my gold and I upgrade these, and then
Yeah.
Brian wins. Yeah,
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 so I don't think we ever did explain that. So, the way the gods work, Apollo's printed on the board, and Apollo's always last. And like Thomas just said, it lets you increase your income and then gives you two coins.
yeah, yeah,
And that's how you, with your one territory, manage to build back up, right? Because
yeah.
you increased the value of that one territory enough that you had like some decent gold coming in, and then you built up some reserves where then as soon as you could bid on Ares, it was just like, okay, plunk out a bunch of dudes and then just keep feeding gold and you just swept an entire, region. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. One turn took everything in that region, kicked Brandon completely off it, right?
But
Yeah,
so if
yeah,
there's four players, there's only going to be four gods, including that pre-printed Apollo, right? So the other ones, there's three that are face up, and then there are two more that would be face down. Again, this is a four-player game, right?
yeah,
And then so your turn order at the beginning is basically your bid turn order. So whoever gets to bid first places their bid, and then you go through each player one by one until everyone is on a separate god. But then the order of actions goes from whatever god is on the top of the board and it goes down towards Apollo. So, and then when at the end of the round, the one on the god on the top is going to go to the bottom and flip upside down and not be available, and they're all going to shift up. So part of the game is like, okay, I really need to do these actions this round, so, I but I need to go first. So like there were times where like I wanted Ares, but Hera was above Ares, and there were some monsters on the board that I couldn't afford to let anyone get their paws on because
Yep.
it would have hurt me so bad. So then I had to take Hera because I needed to go first and get rid of those monsters, like buy them up just so they couldn't be used against me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I loved that part of it. That the whole bidding system and the rotating of gods, whatever, feels very Bruno Catala.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really neat mechanic, and I really like that, and it really it makes you think in different ways because yeah, like you said, sometimes it's like I want Ares because he allows me to do this, but I want to go first, so I got to take this other suboptimal. That last round, you took uh who did you take? Whatever god that lets you make universities. It's like the worst
Yeah,
god.
Athena.
Yeah, Athena. Yeah, she's the worst in this game. Now, I say that I'm being, she has her place, she has her usage. You need universities to make metropolises, so and then she's got basically she gives you these philosophers, and you can if you can elect four of them, then you can have like a free metropolis as well. So like, she's not terrible. She just doesn't have the like sort of in your face abilities that some of the other gods have, right? Like Ares, you're choosing Ares because you're going to be aggressive, you're going to put dudes on the map, and you're going to move forward and attack people, right? You're choosing Poseidon because you're going to build some ships and you're going to move out and take territories, kind of thing, right? So, Athena, not so much. You're choosing her and you're making universities and having philosophers because, right? Um, so
And
like
the
you have
universities are the one building that doesn't have an immediate effect on the board.
Yeah, yeah. So like you took that god and clearly it was like some of these other gods would be so much better for you. But you needed to go first that round because you had the plan to win the game that round by going first, right? Get that
Mm.
Pegasus, get over there, steal the thing, right? And not only that, you would have stole that Metropolis and that one would have been safe because Brian wasn't over in that. So your heavy um mercenary army would have been just protected just from a being on the other side of the board perspective kind of thing, right? So yeah, it was just those are the types of decisions that you have to like think about when those gods come up, right? And that's really neat. That's a cool aspect of this game for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it, just another good example of player count, um, changing the dynamic of a game.
Yeah,
And
making all
then
the difference. Yeah.
like I alluded to it, but I didn't say it. But then the game goes up to 6 players. So if you have 3 players, there's 3 active gods every round. If you have four, there's 4 active gods. Five is five. And if you have 6 players, all the gods are active every round.
That would
Yeah.
be really neat. I wouldn't mind trying that, but I feel like this game took a long time. It
Yeah, it
did.
did.
We played for
Took pretty much
hours.
all day.
Yeah. So I imagine playing at six would be quite the but having access to all those gods every round, that would be a different experience as well. Yeah. So interesting. Very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because the gods that were coming off the board, not only are they at the top, so you're going before, other players, but they're coming off the board. And like, yeah, like it'll be 3 rounds before they're back on the board again. So they like go for a premium, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and if you
And
really needed more, soldiers and you can't get the Ares, that's a problem, right?
yep,
Whereas in a six-player game, you may
it's
not
always
have that
there.
problem, but
Yeah.
you're gonna that that bidding is really going to come down to a lot more, I would say, fierceness, as people are like, no, 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 I need this god right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So,
But that's the other cool thing too, is you want to bid high to get the gods that you want to take there, you need to take, but their actions, how do I explain? It it's like you get a base level of action, but if you pay more, you get more action. So,
yeah,
let's take Ares for example. You immediately you'll get one troop, but if you pay more, you can have another troop, and then if you pay more again, you can have a third troop, and
yeah,
more again, you can have four, and then you can pay to move those troops. So you, it's a balance between this. Okay, how much do I bid? To get the action, but then how much do I need behind to make use of that action? And then you obviously you want to try to hold some for the next round, you know? Like
yeah.
it's
Because if you go
yeah.
into the next round with, low cash, um, and somebody held stuff back and they held gold back, they're that much ahead of you for the bidding and whatnot,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, that becomes tough. And what I like about this one too, because there's the bidding, you often, and I kept calling it out, right? Like, you'd go on a god, and I'm like, guys, he doesn't want that god. He's just putting it there, so we'll outbid it, and then he'll choose his real god, kind of thing, right? But everybody does it. You have to. You almost be like, if I go straight away to the god that I want, and somebody outbids it, and I go high and I'm like 5, and then someone outbids it at 7. If I want to
Yeah.
take that god, I got to go all the way up to like 10 coins or something, right?
Yeah.
And
Gets out of hand.
yeah, so then you go, okay, I'm going to go 3 on this god that's good. Someone's gonna want it. They're gonna be like, okay, I only have to pay 5 to get ahead of that 3. So I'll take that. And then I go, yes, I get to now go on this one for 5 coins instead of the 10 that we would have jostled back for, right? And
Right.
then not only that, when someone outbids you and then so essentially when someone outbids you, you get to immediately bid on another god right away, right? You can't bid on the same god that you just came off of. So you almost like, when you rebid, you're like, okay, I gotta be careful, because if I get bid off the god that I actually want too early, I gotta like go somewhere else and hope somebody outbids me there so that I can come back to bid on the first god, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
yeah, that those types of decisions are really neat too, and a fun aspect of this game.
Yeah. So I was ready to, after our first game, I was like, I don't think I'm going to keep this game. I think this is coming out of my collection.
Mhm.
But since playing it with Brandon and Brian, I think I'm going to keep. It'll stay. It'll stay in the collection, and probably would be one that I would get out with them again. Right? Like it's
Yeah,
a good
100%.
group game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not gonna make the same mistakes.
Yeah. But yeah, Bruno Catala for the win, man. He's got so many great games, and this is one of the top ones from him for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And that wraps up another episode of the Current Plays podcast. Check us out next week on YouTube or your favorite podcast provider. But until then, good gaming and good night.
Good night, folks.